All right, welcome to your deep dive. I think this is going to be a really interesting one. We're looking at fitness today, specifically something I know a lot of us struggle with, belly fat.
Yep.
So you sent over this YouTube video. It's by Paul Revelia, and the title is Best Way to Lose Belly Fat Cardio, a Waste of Time.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And honestly, that title alone, I mean, come on, you had me at cardio, a waste of time. It kind of goes against everything we think we know, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, a lot of people just think, oh, cardio is the answer for, if I want to lose weight, I got to do cardio.
Yeah.
So to call it a waste of time,
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty bold statement, isn't it? But
Yeah.
I think if we dig a little deeper,
Yeah.
into what Revelia is actually saying, it becomes less about just totally dismissing cardio and more about reframing how we think about it.
Okay, so how so? He's not saying, like, ditch the treadmill entirely.
No, not at all.
Okay.
His argument, it's a little bit more nuanced, right? So he's specifically pointing to the type of cardio we often associate with that word, like jogging or, sprinting,
Yeah.
is maybe not being the most effective way or sustainable approach for, especially if you're looking for long-term fat loss.
Yeah.
And sustainability is key, I think. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, who can keep up, like, a hardcore sprint routine forever? I know I can't. Plus, let's be real, sometimes those high-intensity workouts feel more like a chore.
Oh, totally. And that's kind of where Revelia's approach, I think, starts to get interesting. He uses this analogy, tell me if this resonates with you, of belly fat being like a paper towel roll.
Oh, yeah, the paper towel roll?
Yeah, you remember that?
I do. Yeah, I do. That one really stuck with me. It's such a, like, visual way to kind of think about it.
It is. And he basically says that, you lose fat from the outside layers first. So like, almost like if you're peeling away sheets from a paper towel roll.
Yeah.
That stubborn core fat that, I think we're all trying to get rid of, it's like the cardboard tube in the middle. That's the last to go.
So even if I'm, like, doing tons of crunches, I'm not necessarily going to see that, like, sculpted six-pack right away.
That's the thing about spot reduction. It's kind of a myth,
Yeah.
You can't just like target fat loss in one specific area.
Okay.
Crunches, don't get me wrong, they're great for building core strength,
Yeah.
but they won't just, magically melt away the fat that's covering up those muscles.
So thinking about that paper towel roll, it's like I could be building up a killer six-pack underneath, but it's just hidden because I haven't tackled those outer layers of fat yet.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And so this is where I think Revelia's approach takes a really interesting turn. He kind of shifts the focus away from those high-intensity workouts.
Okay.
And he instead points to something a lot simpler, maybe even more surprising, walking.
Walking. Seriously. Like, that's great for, a stroll in the park or whatever, but can it really? Like, can walking actually make a difference when it comes to losing, that stubborn belly fat?
Well, you might be surprised. And this is where I think the science gets really fascinating.
Okay.
Walking, sure, it's less intense than jogging or sprinting, but it can be incredibly effective for calorie burning and improving, just your overall health.
Okay.
And I think the key here is consistency.
Okay.
It's something you can realistically, incorporate into your day.
Yeah.
Every day, right?
Yeah.
Without it feeling like this huge disruption or a major upheaval.
So instead of those, like, dreaded hour-long gym sessions, I could be getting similar benefits just by, like, walking more.
Potentially, yeah.
I have to admit, that's kind of appealing.
It is, and it's about finding what works for you,
Yeah.
right? For your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And what I find really intriguing about Revelia's approach is that he doesn't just stop at walk more. He kind of digs into the why behind it.
Okay.
He connects walking not just to physical health, but also to, mental well-being, better sleep, and even improved eating habits.
Wait, hold on. He's saying, like, walking can actually help me make healthier food choices.
Yeah, that's what he's suggesting.
How does that work?
Yeah, it is pretty fascinating. There's a growing, I think, body of research, exploring this connection between physical activity and diet.
Okay.
And while walking may not, like, directly dictate your food choices, think about it this way. Like, when you engage in regular exercise, like walking, you tend to feel more energized.
Yeah.
You feel more in tune with your body, and as a result, you're more likely to make those choices that support your overall well-being.
Okay, yeah, I get it. It's like walking kind of sets off this chain reaction of positive choices.
Exactly. And, Revelia he backs it up with his own personal experience, right?
Yeah.
He talks in the video about how incorporating walking into his daily routine, it didn't just like help him lose fat, but it also had a noticeable impact on his mood, like his energy levels, even his cravings changed.
Wow.
He found himself just naturally gravitating towards, those healthier foods, and not because he was like forcing it, but it's just because his body was craving the fuel that actually supported his active lifestyle.
So it's less about like willpower,
Right.
and more about just creating this environment physically and mentally where those healthy choices become almost automatic.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is. And this ties back into what I find really compelling about his approach overall.
Yeah.
It's not about those like quick fixes, or those extreme measures.
Right.
It's about sustainable lifestyle changes
Yeah.
that you can, maintain over time.
Yeah. He does emphasize that a lot, that consistency, right?
Yeah.
He talks about how he tracks his steps and how like that sense of progress, how it kept him motivated.
Oh, absolutely. Tracking progress it can be incredibly motivating, whether it's steps, calories, even just noticing how your clothes fit differently. It gives you that tangible evidence of your efforts, right?
Yeah.
And that in turn fuels that positive feedback loop we were talking about.
Yeah, those little wins, they keep you going, don't they? Like you see that you're moving in the right direction and it's like, okay, let's keep going.
It's really encouraging. Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be complicated.
Yeah.
Revelia, he mentions using a calorie calculator. He's got one on his website
Okay.
to kind of help people understand their intake. But yet there's so many different tools and apps these days. A lot of them are free,
Oh, yeah, there are.
They can help you track your progress in a way that works for you, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, even something as simple as like, a notebook and a pen can be enough.
Absolutely.
It's more about finding that system that works for you that you'll actually stick with.
Absolutely, yeah. Personalization, I think, is key. And, and this brings us to another important aspect of, I think, Revelia's approach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's individualized goals and timelines,
Mm-hmm.
He talks about this 90-day transformation challenge he offers.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also careful to emphasize that, what works for one person might not work for another.
Yeah, that 90-day thing, I mean, that caught my eye, but I could see how that could be a little overwhelming for some people.
Oh, for sure.
It's a lot.
It's all about, I think, finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
A challenge that stretches you, but that also like doesn't discourage you.
Mm-hmm.
So for some people, yeah, that might be a 90-day intensive program.
Mm-hmm.
But for others, it might be setting, smaller goals, like aiming to walk 30 minutes a day, or, just incorporating more steps into their daily routine.
Yeah, I appreciate that he acknowledges that, like, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's really about finding what's sustainable for you, for your lifestyle and your goals.
Exactly. And what's I think so brilliant about walking is that it just fits into that framework really, really beautifully.
Yeah.
It's adaptable. It's accessible.
Yeah.
And you can really easily adjust the intensity to just match, where you're at.
Yeah.
Your fitness level, and your goals.
It's like he's saying, start where you are with what you have and just keep moving forward.
Yes, 100%. And that brings us to, I think, one of the most compelling arguments Revelia makes in favor of walking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's its ability to really seamlessly integrate into your daily life.
Yeah, he talks about like finding those, those little pockets of time throughout the day to just sneak in more steps.
Right.
Like taking the stairs instead of the elevator or parking farther away from the store.
Exactly. It's all about making those small conscious choices that over time they add up, to significant change. And the beauty of it is, like, you don't need, fancy equipment or a gym membership or anything like that.
Right.
You can literally just walk out your front door and get started.
Plus, there's something inherently enjoyable about walking. It's not just about burning calories.
Yeah.
It's a chance to just, clear your head, enjoy the fresh air.
For sure.
Maybe listen to your favorite podcast while you're doing it.
There you go.
See?
See?
Multitasking.
You've hit on another key aspect here. Walking isn't just a physical activity. It can be a mental and emotional outlet as well.
Yeah.
And as Revelia points out, that can have this ripple effect on other areas of your life.
Okay.
When you feel good mentally and emotionally, you're more likely to make healthy choices overall,
It all comes back to that positive feedback loop.
It does.
walking helps you feel good,
Mm-hmm.
which then motivates you to keep walking,
Right.
which then motivates you to make other healthy choices, which then just reinforces those positive feelings.
Absolutely. It's a real virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
And that's why, as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into Revelia's approach, I think the key takeaway here is this. Walking, while it's often overlooked, it's a really powerful tool.
Yeah.
Not just for, shedding that belly fat, but also for just cultivating like a healthier, happier, more balanced lifestyle overall.
And I think what makes it so powerful is its simplicity.
Yeah.
It's something that we can all do.
The core.
Regardless of our fitness level experience. It doesn't require us to completely overhaul our lives. It's just about making those small, consistent choices that over time can lead to some pretty remarkable transformation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we wrap up, I'm just curious. For you, what stands out as the most significant takeaway from Revelia's approach?
Mm-hmm.
What really resonates with you?
I think what really strikes me is how Revelia he really reframes our perception of exercise. It's not about, punishing yourself, with these crazy workouts. It's more about finding ways to move your body that you actually enjoy.
Yeah.
And that you can see yourself doing long term.
Yeah, totally.
And it reminds me of something he said in the video that really resonated with me.
Okay.
He asked, if walking can be so effective, what small change could you make today to incorporate more of it into your routine?
Ooh, yeah. I like that. It's so simple.
Yeah.
But it really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
It's like it shifts the focus away from these grand, overwhelming goals.
Right.
And kind of invites us to just take action right now.
Totally. Yeah. Don't wait.
Sure.
Just start.
Yeah, love that. And that's what I love about this approach, I think, overall. It's not about, waiting for the perfect time or the perfect plan. It's about empowering yourself to make those small, consistent choices that over time can lead to those, bigger transformations.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think that's the question we want to leave our listeners with too. What's one small step you can take today to really embrace the power of walking? Maybe it's, like we said, parking farther away from where you're going, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or maybe just committing to, a 15-minute walk after dinner.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, we believe in you.
We do. And remember, even the smallest steps can lead to incredible journeys. So we're excited to see where your path takes you. Keep us posted on your progress. And as always, feel free to reach out with any questions. Happy walking.